Here's 5 foods to never eat if you're trying to build muscle. Now, some of them we can massage a little bit and have occasionally at the right time, but I wanted to highlight foods that would stand in the way of building your muscle, or also just make it so that it's too easy to gain fat. I mean, we've established based on a lot of data now that you can build muscle literally in a caloric deficit as long as protein is met and as long as there's adequate stimulus. So I don't think there's really a need to be bulking anymore. So we don't need to be eating a bunch of calories, which I guess it just throws me right into the first one. And this is one that I used to make a huge mistake with all the time. That is having fast food as a way to build muscle. First of all, this may sound like something you already know, but a lot of the protein that's at a fast food joint is not full-on meat. It's gonna be like a percentage meat and then have a bunch of other soy additives and other things. My point in saying that is that's not even it. Like, you could live on that if you really needed to. It's just not the highest quality protein, but it's also calorically dense, also super high in trans fats, which are heavily linked to inflammation. And inflammation is ultimately linked with not only reductions in muscle protein synthesis, but also reductions in insulin sensitivity, which lead to more protein synthesis. So the point in this is not to say like fast food is going to be the ultimate enemy in the world. It's like, you have to ask yourself why you're doing that. So I used to work out and then go to Jack in the Box because I would think, oh, I worked out, I can afford to have some fast food. The reality, and the sad reality actually, is that when you resistance train, although you're putting a lot of metabolic demand on your body and physical demand, you're not burning that many calories. Like, I highly doubt your resistance training regimen is burning more than 300 or 400 calories. Resistance training is more about the stimulus on the muscle, not the caloric burn that you get. So if you go through a Jack in the Box or a Taco Bell after your workout because you feel like you earned it, you're just being misled. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to be eating protein right after your workout anymore. We've seen that over the last like 5-10 years that that's not the case. You can just, as long as protein needs are met throughout the course of the day, you're fine. So why would you go do that? Is it because you've given yourself a license to relax and eat that food because you're building muscle? Because I'm telling you, it's probably hurting you more than it's helping you. Now I'm gonna move into the next one that's gonna disappoint some people too, and that's alcohol. Like, alcohol has no place in someone's life that's trying to build muscle. And I know that sounds bad. I know that it sounds like moderation should be key, but I have talked to the world's foremost experts in this category, and not a single one has told me that moderation is where you need to be with alcohol. The data now points to alcohol in any amount is bad. Okay, and when it comes to muscle, let's look at 2 things. You have your stimulus when you're in the gym. That's obviously very important for building muscle. But what's the other side that's very important? Recovery, sleep. So not only does alcohol at sort of a cellular, molecular level possibly disrupt recovery, but it indirectly, or even in a lot of ways, directly inhibits it by affecting your sleep. It impacts your slow wave sleep, your most restorative sleep, and it disrupts the rate at which you go through your 4 sleep cycles. And when you disrupt that, you disrupt your growth hormone pulses. If you're not recovered, you can't train hard. But even independent of training hard, if you're not recovered, if you're not sleeping, you're not growing. But alcohol also decreases testosterone. Check this study out. So this was published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine. They took a look at alcoholics versus non-alcoholics. And for 30 days, they had them consume some ethanol that would equate to a couple of drinks a night for 30 days. Okay, what was really interesting was that at baseline, the alcoholics already had low testosterone. So they established that, okay, alcoholics tend to have low testosterone. The healthy people, check this out, after 72 hours, we're already seeing reductions in testosterone. They were measuring constantly. And their testosterone went down in a stepladder fashion every single day until at 30 days, their testosterone levels in the healthy people were as low as the alcoholics' testosterone levels. It only took 30 days of drinking alcohol for a healthy person to put their testosterone levels at the level of an alcoholic. I hope that that gives you a little bit of a fright to say, okay, this isn't worth it. Now, how does it do this? Well, we do know that ethanol is a straight toxin to the Leydig cells, the cells that produce testosterone in our nuts. Now, outside of that, we also have some possible disruption of the hypothalamic pituitary to gonadal axis. So follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, the signaling pathway there. But that science is a little bit early on. We've seen this in humans. We know it has an impact on Leydig cells and a direct impact on testosterone. Just ditch the stuff. This next one is one that you might have some licenses now and then to have, but largely using protein bars as a way to build muscle, it's a cheap shot. It's not going to work. It's just like, sure, could you probably build some muscle? Maybe for the short term, but the problem is a couple of things. Most of the protein bars out there are going to be very, very low quality protein. Like if you look at a lot of them that are at Costco and stuff, it's like milk protein isolate. It's not whey protein. It's not the good stuff. And if it is, it's further on down the label. It'll be something like soy protein isolate or milk protein isolate, and then further down the label you'll see whey protein. It's just you're not getting the best quality protein, but you're also getting it combined with a bunch of low quality oils, probably hydrogenated stuff. That's not to say that there aren't clean bars out there. Like there certainly are clean bars out there, but why would you opt for that when you have other options? Go to the grocery store and get some cold cuts, get some like deli meat. That's good. Even if it has preservatives in that deli meat, it's probably better than the preservatives that are in the actual protein bars. Get some cottage cheese and I don't know, put some blueberries in it. Or if you really want to be frisky, even a couple of chocolate chips is probably better than what's in that protein bar. What I typically do is rather than have a protein bar, I know it's not as sexy, but I have a protein shake. If I really need the protein and I'm on the go, I'll have some protein powder in some water, and then I'll have some macadamia nuts. And then it's like, okay, I've got the calories from the macadamia nuts, and I've got the protein, and I feel like, hey, you know what? I got relatively wholesome things that don't have a myriad of different ingredients in them. Plain and simple. I also put a link down below for Thrive Market. I have some new products with Thrive Market that you might like, ones that I literally created myself. They are different forms of dessert type nut butters. So I have a cinnamon Brazil nut butter, I have a chocolate hazelnut butter, and a macadamia nut butter. And they're sweetened with allulose, so they automatically have that impact on potentially reducing blood sugar anyway, because allulose has some interesting research behind that. But they just taste delicious. I've been working on them for 2 years. Thrive Market is an online grocery store, so whether you get my nut butters or not, I don't really care. I would like you to try them, but it's a great place to get your groceries. It's literally a grocery store now, and it gets delivered to your doorstep, and that link down below saves you 30% off whatever you want, including my nut butters, including the fresh items, including the frozen items, and including everything else. And you can sort by diet type, so you can get things that don't have any sugar. If you grocery shop and you're human, you should check it out. It is game-changing stuff. Link down below beneath this video. This next food is so weird. It's so weird. I don't know why it's a thing. Why has this been on TikTok and Instagram like over the last couple of years that when people are bulking, they use reduced fat peanut butter? Have you seen this? Like, it's kind of weird. I'm just gonna say it's not a thing that you should really be opting for. Like, go for just natural peanut butter that doesn't have hydrogenated oil. I mean, I'm not even the biggest peanut butter fan. Like I'd prefer almond butter or macadamia nut butter, Brazil nut butter, something like that. But whatever, people like their peanut butter. But why are you choosing reduced fat? All that does is take the only really good part of peanut butter to begin with, which is the fats, remove that and replace it with sugar. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, especially if you're trying to build muscle. But I get why people want to do that, because maybe they get more food volume because there's a few less calories. They feel like, oh, this is muscle building because I'm still getting the protein without the fat. I could see that, but a couple of things to note. The protein in peanut butter is not going to be building a lot of muscle. I can promise you that. You need to combine it with some other things. It's not a complete protein. So even though it's a high protein food by some people's standards, it's not worth it. So I get it. Like, oh, let's reduce the calories and increase the protein, reduce fat peanut butter it is. But you still typically have hydrogenated garbage and you still have a bunch of sugar. I don't even know why that stuff's on the shelf anymore. So I'm not going to waste any more time with that one. The next one is one that's going to upset some people too. But it's very unfortunate, and hear me out on this, okay, because I also have a solution. Too much caffeine. It will impact you. It will because of two reasons. Just like alcohol, it's gonna mess up your sleep. And I'm not saying that having a little bit of coffee in the morning is a bad thing. What I'm saying is this reliance on caffeine to try to perform better and try to lift more and try to be stronger is kind of canceling out everything. Because if you're not sleeping well, and caffeine has a long half-life. So even if you stop drinking caffeine at 11 a.m., it's still in your system when you go to bed. And you may not realize it, but it's impacting your sleep. So it's a very important thing to cut the caffeine out early so that you can still get adequate sleep. Because if you disrupt your sleep, you are absolutely going to disrupt your growth hormone pulses, which are tremendously important when it comes down to building your muscle. Not to mention, you're masking fatigue. You have to listen to your body. Training through soreness and training through serious fatigue is not a recipe for success. Doing hard things that are difficult, yes, but working through the wrong kind of pain when every signal in your body is telling you to rest, the biggest part, or I should say equally big part of building muscle is rest. So if you're trying to caffeinate your way through by pounding a pre-workout at 4 p.m. so that you can still make it to the gym, ditch the pre-workout and just work out even if you're working out 20% less intensely, but you're actually able to sleep. I would imagine your net result is going to be better. I'll see you tomorrow.